I thought like punctuality was like in your DNA after being in the military. It's like he'll be here. He's just, at another meeting or something.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have no idea. I mean, the nightmares of the last 30 years of missing a flight, missing a brief. That's part of being a pilot, right? So like I get in last night and for some reason I was thinking Friday. So I'm like, I don't need to set my alarm. I can sleep in the morning. I'm good to go. No, it was Thursday. So that's bad on me for not being able to keep up with my schedule on the road, and I should probably have known better. But
That's okay. That's okay.
yeah,
Where are you?
I'm in New York now.
Okay.
I'm actually in Hoboken, New Jersey. Look, a beautiful view of New York City behind me, but it's kind of a
Is
gloomy.
it is it gloomy? Yeah, it's raining here.
Yeah.
Lots of rain. I mean, we need it, but still, the point is. Okay. Thank you for your update.
I'm so sorry.
I
I'm,
love that. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I know your time is valuable, so my
And
apologies.
I'm not a doctor's office. I'm not going to send you like a missed appointment fee. I don't do that.
I mean, that's the rules. I mean,
No, no, it's in my contract it says like as long as I have time,
okay.
and I had time this afternoon, and I know how important like you want to do a really good job on October 2nd. So I'm like, I'm available.
You're the best. Thank you so much. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're
Again, very
welcome.
sorry. And because I got, between our last meeting, my trip got extended. I'm actually kind of one of the worst things that can happen when you're on a trip, on a long trip, is to
Hmm.
have that trip extended in the middle of it, right? So you've already crossed the Rubicon of, hey, I'm on the downside. I've got only 6 days left. I'm almost home again. And then they say, yeah, you're going to Rome now. You're going to spend an extra 2 days in Europe. And I'm like, and I know I get it. Our schedulers their job is impossible. And I've had that job for 6 years of my life. So I know that when everything goes right, no one ever says a word. And when one thing goes wrong, everyone's on top of you. So I understand what they have to do, but it's just doesn't make it any easier, man. I'll tell you.
How do
So,
you pack for that?
well, again, part of this job, I bought this sweatshirt when I was in San Jose because the Marine layer never left and it was cold every morning. Well, I'm sorry, when I was in LA. And so, sometimes I'll buy something on the road. Sometimes the hardest part is packing in the wintertime because, you might leave New York, but end up in the Caribbean or then back out on the West Coast or down in South America or Central America. So you could be shorts and flip-flops, you could be sweatshirts and hats and gloves. Uh, so and the trick is to never have to check a bag because I fly to and from commercial to my flights. And I do not want to check a bag because I don't want to show up and have my bag lost. So I got to put
Right.
all that stuff in one bag. So what I generally do is pair of jeans, pair of shorts, flip-flop sneakers, workout shoes, my work shoes, and socks and underwear. And then when I have a day or two off, usually I just have, the hotel laundry do, 24-hour
Yeah.
service and they pay for that. So it's all expensible. So,
Yep. I have a client and she is a travel coach for women, over 50. It was part of her grieving process when her daughter died. And
oh,
yeah, it was, she, she died from a brain tumor,
do you have kids?
something that like they knew about it
Yeah.
over a long period of time. Like she actually sort of lasted, I hate to use the word lasted, but I don't know what other word to use. But anyways, her daughter loved to travel, so she traveled with her ashes around the globe for 2 years. And so she's known for that's what she did. But she did it. She's overseas right now in England, and I told her just like you need to videotape everything because this is what you do. You teach people about this. And she had the tiniest carry-on.
Right.
And the amount of stuff that she packed in this, and she was like, really? People want to know how I pack? I'm like, yes.
Oh,
I
yeah.
cannot believe like everything that she got in there.
Yeah, well, it's harder for women too because, more shoes,
It's
outfits, more
stuff.
jackets,
Yes.
and we've had multiple conversations with our flight attendants about this. because we got to lift their bags in the back. And uh and she's like, I know it's the shoes, But yeah.
Okay. The other part of your homework was to play with your voice.
Yes.
And how did that work out for you? What, like, just like, what do you notice?
So what I notice is, and I was doing this as I was talking on the radios all day yesterday, coming across the country. Um,
Nice.
I've got my radio voice, and then I've got my it's funny because I've been flying for 30 years now and I've been talking on the radios for 30 years. And so my voice is very intentional sometimes, especially when I key the mic and I go out. I always want to, especially when you get to the East Coast where things are busier, you want to
Hmm.
say as much information as you can in the shortest amount of time, using the shortest amount of words. And literally, like when you're coming into specifically Teterboro, which is where we landed yesterday, syllables actually matter. When there's that many airplanes that need to speak and the controller needs to speak, syllables matter. So instead of saying November 652 Whiskey Echo, which is our call sign, I just say 2 Whiskey Echo because that's 3 syllables. November 6. So that's four syllables I saved in you know what I'm saying? So because the controller then has to answer me and then call another airplane. We're literally lined up back to back to back getting in
Yeah.
and he's working traffic going out. So I was listening yesterday to my voice on the radio specifically, and I definitely have a radio voice. For example, when I'm talking to the person in the cockpit, be having a conversation like you were in RI now. But then when I key the mic, it's like all business, and my business voice comes out, and I maybe even like a radio, kind of like a radio voice almost,
Okay.
a little deeper. Um, and again, if I'm listening very carefully. When I change a frequency, I listen for about 30 seconds before I ever talk to get a feel for how busy it is on that frequency. And that then I tailor my communication to what I
Mm,
think that controller is going to want to hear from me. Good
okay.
afternoon, Denver Center. This is November 652 Whiskey Echo. We're level 450. But if they're busy, I'm not going to say good afternoon. I'm not going to say Denver Center.
Okay.
I'm going to say Center 2 Whiskey Echo checking in 450. And they'll say Roger. And they go on to the next one. So and my voice in those communications is different. I noticed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Great.
Yeah.
And did you play with your voice when you were just having conversations with other people or calling your wife?
No, I did not.
Okay,
Maybe I
that's
should.
what I want. That's what I want you to do. But
Okay.
don't tell your wife you're doing this. I want to actually see if she like, you sound different.
Really?
Because you
Okay.
might draw her in by
Okay.
playing with your voice.
Hmm.
That might be what also happens. I was just chatting with somebody earlier, and she's was saying that people tell me I'm a natural speaker, and I can see the way that she just changes her voice, and
Right.
that's going to be what's making her magnetic.
Okay.
Because I mean, I haven't heard what she actually says, but she does feel like she overtalks. She's using too many words. But just that vocal variety can really pull people in. And especially with your type of presentations that are
Hmm.
full of a lot of data, that's going to be like, that's going to prevent people from like,
Yes, exactly.
they're going to be like, huh, they're going to be like, the time's up. It's
Yeah,
Q&A
exactly.
time portion now.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I want for you.
Excellent.
I want people to look forward to that. So play with your vocal variety in every situation, even like when you're ordering lunch.
Okay. Now, is this something that will, if I do notice differences, because I could put on my radio voice now, I could do my talk fast voice. It's hard for me to do a slow talking voice. I'm not a slow talker,
I
and that
know
is
you're
going to
not.
be something that I would really have to work on is
Yeah.
talking slower. But then as I talk slower, are you saying that voice modulation has to change?
Well, that's all part of the vocal variety is
Is how
there are
fast I talk?
times when you are going to talk a little bit slower. You might be, and I'm just going to pick on your wife right now. It could be
Yeah,
one of your daughters. You're just like, you're not going to believe what I had for dinner tonight. And we're like,
right.
what? And like, I don't know what you normally talk about, but I had the best fried chicken I have ever had. I think the last time I actually had this kind of like you're just changing it that it keeps people guessing what you're going to say next. And this
Okay.
is literally like advanced speaker stuff.
Right.
But
No, no,
the
this is
reason
great.
why I want to share this with you is because you are essentially you're a little there's a little screen of Sean and then it's the slide. So it's not like people are seeing your body language or your body language or a lot of times like people can like watch your mouth as you're speaking. Like they're not
Okay.
really seeing that. Like they're looking at the slide and it's almost like just listening to a podcast. This is all almost all audio. So that's why I want you to play around with your voice everywhere. And I know you're a
It's
fast talker, and that's like the whole slowing everything down wasn't just for movement, but it's also when you're talking.
okay. That's wonderful. I actually, it's funny that you mentioned voice because I got a compliment maybe 2 days before we had our first meeting where it's just interesting because I rarely get compliments anymore, but it was nice to hear. Somebody said that I have a very nice voice.
You do.
So that's good.
Yeah, that is very good. That means you're pleasing to listen to.
Good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
which is
That
great for
always
these.
helps. That always helps. And the good thing is I have gotten positive feedback on these presentations. And I think that I'm following a person who was a lot more he was a much better public speaker than I am in the way that he presented stuff to our department. But I felt that the information that he gave us every quarter was a lot of stuff that we just didn't really need. Like, hey, because remember, I'm a safety professional. So, well, just be careful putting your Christmas lights up. Hey, it's 4th of July. Don't, here's some fireworks safety tips. And I'm like, okay, well, those are all great and I love it. And he had great stories and he brought a lot of cool jokes and memes into his presentation. But at the end of the day, I was kind of left feeling like, okay, but how are we as a department, how are we being safer from this? How are we going out and flying
Mm.
airplanes and getting great customer service out to our principals and timely and safe flights? How are we doing with that? What are our challenges? What does any of this have to do with that? And so when I took over, I really wanted to focus the spotlight down on what are we doing every
Yeah.
quarter as a department. Unfortunately, it does involve a lot of metrics and numbers and things that we track, which can be boring, you know.
But you're going to make them non-boring.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I love the way that you're going about this. It almost sounds to me like this is the way that you're supposed to give feedback, or when people are getting like their yearly reviews, it's like, here's what you're doing well.
yeah.
Here's what you're not doing well. Here's what needs to be improved. And then you end, again with something else that's positive. Do you do the same thing with your presentation?
I try to.
Okay.
And the ending on the positive note is I handed it off to a guy named Chris Baylor. He tracks. So are you familiar with the black box in an airplane? Like when there's an airplane crash?
Yes.
Oh, if
Yes.
we can find the black box, we'll know what happened.
Yes.
Okay. So what we have now is, and a lot of people don't realize this, that aren't in the aviation community, is we have turned those black boxes into transmitting devices that provide real-time data. So when I land, I have an app that I open up and I see how I did on that flight. All of my flight data is on there and it's already been pushed to an app. So I see it. So let's say that I left my iPad at home and I was in an airplane accident. My wife could literally open up my iPad that moment and see my data of what happened
Wow.
before anything was investigated or pulled from that accident site. Okay. So what we do with that information is we look at things like unstable approaches, being fast below certain airspeeds. We track real-time safety data of how we're doing. And so I finish off my presentation by handing it over to the person in our department who's responsible for collecting that data. And then I tie it all together by saying, look at, yes, here's some things we could work on. We've seen an uptick in these events, but across the board, and usually that is the answer. I mean, I would be honest with everyone, but literally, and since, by the way, we've gotten this technology that I just talked about, we have seen a drastic reduction in our what they call events. For example, if I have an unstable approach, maybe meaning I'm fast, or maybe
Hmm.
I'm a little bit high coming into the runway, that triggers an event in our data that said, hey, Sean Mooney had an unstable approach the other day. So what we've seen is a drastic reduction across the board in the last 2 years. So it's nice for me to be always ending on, hey, this is what we saw this quarter. Here's some highlights. Here's what's going on in the safety world. And by the way, we as a department are doing very well.
And when you say we, you're talking about your company,
I'm talking
not,
about flight attendants, pilots, maintainers,
but your
um,
company or everybody, the
just our
global,
just our
just
company.
your
Now,
company. Okay.
what's also interesting is our company has data that's projected against all of the other corporate aircraft data that's out there. So not only can, and so that gives us perspective, right? That tells us that when we see, and I'm modulating my voice, when we see a number, we had 3 unstable approaches this quarter. What does that mean? How did the rest of the Gulfstream fleet do? Well, the rest, the average was about 10 per quarter. So we're 70% below what the average is out there, guys. We're doing a fantastic job.
I love how you just said all of that.
So, yeah,
And what else? The other part that I like is like, here's the data with all the other corporate, and this is what this means,
yeah,
so
because
that
without
you're,
perspective, yeah, without
yeah,
perspective, people will go, "Oh my God, we had 3 unstable approaches this quarter," or we had two flight attendant slip and falls, and one burned themselves on the hot plate in the back. Well, if you look at all the flight attendant, safety events for that last quarter, we only had two. That's great. Now, in actuality, we've had zero, knock on wood, for the last 2 years. So actually, we had one slip and fall. But so, it's perspective. And I try to balance out how we're doing as a department and, against all of the other Gulf Streams out there that we're collecting data on. And we have an interesting peek behind the curtain on that because of my involvement with that committee. I've been working for 4 years with that organization that collects all that data. And I have an even extra good look at it that I can present to our folks. So yeah, I generally try to end on a positive note.
okay.
I think maybe there was one call where we really had some bad stuff go down, and I think it was a kind of a come to Jesus, like we
Hmm.
better tighten up, like right now.
Hmm.
This is bad, and we are going to have other things happen if we don't. Um, but other than that, I think it's all been, for the most part, positive. I think we are a safe department. We try to go out there every day and do stuff safely, like everyone does. Um, but yeah, I try to do, the data points in between and actually show, because he never showed any of our own data. And if you're not introspective as a group, any organization, if you're not looking at yourself and how you're doing compared to other competitors or other people in your line of work, then what's the point?
Right. Right. It also sounds like you're hiring the right people.
Yeah, we've got great people here.
Yeah. So that's going to add to this as well. Okay. So, wrong one. Did you get the document in the Dropbox?
You said you put the
I put a document, a PDF in the Dropbox. I did share it with you also. So it's just going to be a PDF that's just going to, I got this idea from my friend Steve,
okay.
and I uploaded the video to YouTube unlisted. So you have to have the URL in order to watch this. I decided, because I think I sent you an email. I don't know if you saw it because you've got a lot going
Oh,
on.
Yeah. Oh, it's a PDF. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, it's a PDF so that you should be able to, it should be a clickable link that would take you to YouTube so you could watch the
Right.
first our sessions.
Yes, I see it.
But because you talked about the nature, the sensitivity of the nature, I didn't want to, I didn't run it through AI. I was like, this is not a good idea.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah,
Even
because
though I have like it's supposed to protect my data, but and my
sure.
information and what I'm sharing with my chat GPT, but I don't want to take the chance.
Right, I got it. Yeah, that's totally fine. And again, I didn't put my slides up in that presentation, so they didn't see anything. They didn't see any company logo or any of that. So,
And
um,
it's yeah, it's you have to have that link. It's not you can't go to my YouTube page and start fishing around and nobody will find it.
okay, perfect.
It's only for us. But that was I got that idea from Steve, which okay, speaking of Steve, I don't this was an idea that he gave, and Steve is a humorist.
Okay,
The
I love.
man oozes humor. Like you say something to him and he just like his comeback is something hilarious. So I was telling him that you're in aviation. I was like, I'm starting with this new corporate client. And he said, and I don't think you want to do this time, but maybe for Q4's presentation, this would be a fun idea. Only because I want you to make some changes to your presentation and your voice and how you present. Let's see what those changes are. But Steve said he would be happy to make you an intro that is basically similar to the flight attendant safety routine
Okay,
for you to begin your presentation.
okay.
He's like, he said, he goes, find out if he's into humor. He goes, I know he's into aviation and safety and it's serious stuff. He goes, but I'd be happy to whip something up for him
That is so kind.
because he does, he actually has the sound of a private jet that he can put in the background.
I mean, I think that would be phenomenal.
So this should be funny. So all right, I'm going to tell him to do that. I think I have enough information about you that I can share with him.
Oh my gosh.
But
I am blown
it'll
away.
probably be, like he'll tell people like know where your bathrooms are, know where the door is, in case we need to leave in the event of an emergency. Like he's just going to make fun of,
Okay.
which will just what humor does, especially in the beginning of a presentation, is it decreases the defensiveness
Right,
and it really opens people up to learning. And
right.
so if this goes over well, I wouldn't use it every single quarter, but I would use it twice a year, or maybe we can get Steve to shake it up a little bit and give you another one.
Oh man, I'll tell you, that would be amazing. And that's if I had to criticize, give one criticism of myself, it's that I haven't really used humor at all. Because I have when I'm presenting, if I do use humor, I'm usually kind of a dry humor kind of person when I'm presenting, not when I'm one on one. So and I find it hard to kind of inject humor into my topic, my subject matter. So this would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, excited about that.
Another form of humor that I've seen, and this was pretty funny, is to have a slide that is essentially like a joke in the middle of your presentation. Like people, again, this is like another one of those pattern interrupts. They're not expecting something. I'm trying to think of what this guy used to do. He used to talk about social media and LinkedIn, and he had this joke about a goldfish.
Okay.
You're like, what did the goldfish say when he hit the stone wall? And then the slide is, damn. It's just it's like stupid Dixie Cup humor.
Love it. I love it.
But so that's another idea, a way for you to add a little bit of humor
Okay.
because people will start to pay attention also. Again,
I
it's a
like,
pattern interrupt.
I like that term pattern interrupt. I wrote that down. Pattern interrupt. Okay.
So it comes down to like as you're looking through all of your slides, like what's important for me to discuss here instead of like, discussing everything. What can also help with the change in your voice can be what's the feeling I want them to feel.
Okay.
I think sometimes just based on what we've talked about, sometimes it's going to be pride. Sometimes it's just going to be awareness. Lots of different. I mean, we have so many emotions, and we as human beings have a tendency just to experience and play around with maybe a handful.
Okay,
Okay, so would you like to go back to your presentation?
sure.
Let me dig that up.
Oh, I guess we did have a presentation on there. That's right. We did have it up.
Yeah.
That's fine. It doesn't
Oh, do you want to not use it?
no, no,
Here,
no.
I got a better idea.
No, we totally can. We totally
You
can.
can bring it up on your end.
Hmm.
I can see it on my end. You can just tell me what slide we're going to start at.
Okay.
That way, we're not showing anything on this. Does
Okay.
that feel better? And
Yes.
then I get to like watch you actually as you're presenting.
There we go. You don't have to worry about the slide. Okay.
But
Um,
I'll have it over in the corner so that I know which. Yeah, just tell me which one we're starting at.
all right. Let's talked about the West. Let's start with slide number 12. That's kind of where we left off.
Okay. Ah, yes.
Okay. Safety briefing, take two. Okay, back in August, I was able to attend the Business Aviation Safety Council Continuing Education Safety Roundtable on the 12th. They had a great speaker, Heather Healy, two speakers, in fact, Heather Healy, Deb McCormick from the Flight Attendant Drug and Alcohol Program, FDAP. This is a great resource, and it's not just involving drug and alcohol problems, but also mental health. And, when I first kind of saw this was on the agenda, I did kind of do an eye roll because I thought, well, look, this is something that would I really need to attend this? One, I'm not a flight attendant. Two, um, I don't have a drug or alcohol problem, but that doesn't mean that people in my organization do or don't. So it was really good. It actually turned out to be one of the better presentations I've seen, and I have a link 2 slides later that will show you a link to see this presentation that she gave. Deb was a former flight attendant, a commercial flight attendant, and had dealt with a number of years of a drug, and actually not drug, but alcohol problem. And she basically goes through her story, talks about how she
Mm.
sought help and ultimately got back on the road as a flight attendant before she retired. So it was a great resource. Here's their information right here. If we could go to the next slide. The key takeaways: business aviation especially demands high standards for performance and safety. This was a big one. And even though she was a commercial flight attendant, I thought she brought a lot of value to what we do in the corporate side of aviation. Um, Flight attendants face unique stressors and expectations different from pilots. Mental health and substance use disorders often go unaddressed or misaddressed in the flight attendant population. And again, this presentation really highlighted the importance of a proactive workplace wellness strategies rather to address these issues. And Todd was also on the call with me and also took away kind of the same thing I did, which was this was surprisingly poignant and ultimately a very good resource for us in our community. So if anybody has any questions or is thinking either about themselves or maybe someone that they know, if you could go to the next slide, here is the link to the presentation and the code. When you click on the link, here's the code you'll type in. So I'll have this up in Vocus after the presentation today, and feel free to go in there and watch it on your own.
Okay, so this was obviously very impactful for you.
Okay, it was.
Yeah, I want you to sell it,
Okay,
especially since you want people to go and watch this.
okay,
Sell them how absolutely wonderful this was, how surprising it was. You didn't expect it. You were just, it's for continuing ed. You were just kind of surprised, like whatever it was that this really surprised me. And I want to encourage you all to like take the time. Like, how long is it? Do you know if it's a half hour or an hour?
It's a her section. Yeah, her section is about a half an hour where she
Yeah.
spoke. She was amazing. She was like, God, she talked about stuff that and she put herself out there. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't
It
believe it.
sounds like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want you to sell it, especially, I mean, it obviously means a lot to you that you're putting the link in this presentation that you want people to go and watch it. So just tell them like, take the half hour and watch this.
Okay.
It is that impactful, whether you feel like you have a drinking problem, you don't have a drinking problem, like you don't even drink, like however you want to like share with them. That's politically correct without accusing anybody, you know, because we
Well,
have to be
look, I mean,
careful.
it's endemic. I mean, it's this profession for whatever reason has a high level of alcohol usage. It just
Really?
does. Yeah, it does. That's why the FAA has regulations that say you're not allowed to have anything to drink within 12 hours of flying. And that's why every now and then you'll see on YouTube, they'll go down to the end of a jetway and they'll see a Southwest Air. This just happened about 2 weeks ago. Southwest Airlines pilot, had been drinking late into the night and had an early morning flight. And somebody smelled alcohol on him. So they chased him down the jetway, gave him a breathalyzer, and took him away. I mean, it happens around the world, probably um, 1 or 2 times every 6 weeks, I would say, if I had to pin, a number on it. So, um, you know, it, it is what it is. I have, when I turned 50, thankfully,
Mm-hmm.
my body started rejecting alcohol. Like, even if I have a glass of wine with dinner, I'll wake up the
Mm-hmm.
next day, I'm just kind of like, I'm just not on my A game, you know?
Yeah,
And that occurred
agree.
when I turned 50, and 5 years ago. I was like, I don't know, something just feels different now. And it does. And you know, so it's a little more personal to me too, because I just lost my brother this summer from alcoholism. So it's kind of,
Oh,
yeah, I know.
I didn't know that. Oh my
I know.
goodness.
Listen, I tell a lot of people, I'm only telling you this because this, maybe it'll help me sell it. I don't know. I think a lot of people in the department know what happened to me. And it's one of those things where I grieved the loss of my brother 3 years ago because that's when I lost him. So like
Yeah.
when it actually ended up happening, it was more of a relief, to be honest with you, because I know he's in a better place, but doesn't make it any less shocking, right? So
No.
just back
No.
in June. Yeah, so they found him in a pile of booze bottles up in Nashua. He was in a VA facility up there, and living by himself. He had been estranged from his second wife, and it was just it was terrible. But again, totally expected. Totally expected. I mean, we were all just
Yeah.
my dad and I, my sister, my wife, we're all just waiting for the call, and it came. So yeah,
I think like in my world with entrepreneurs and a lot of online businesses, like there's a lot of people who are just intentional sobriety. Didn't have a problem, just kind of like you, just, you know what? This
I don't like
isn't
it.
serving me.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
not.
want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
So,
and so I'll go out and allow myself to have a couple glasses of wine sometimes with the crew at a dinner that we're at when we don't have to fly the next day. But if we're flying the next day, for example, we're going out, we're meeting some friends tonight here in New York that fly for PayPal, and I'm not gonna. We got an 8 o'clock showtime in the morning. I'm not drinking anything.
yeah.
So I mean, but those guys all have a glass of wine or two. And it'll still be well before the 12 hours, between the time we have dinner and the time we have to show up in the morning. But that's not the point. The point is when I show up in the morning, even if I had two glasses and I'm way 14 hours within the limit of the FAA rules, I'm still just not going to feel the same.
Yeah.
It's just a weird thing that kind of happened to me. And maybe there's a mental aspect of it too, watching my brother struggle for his whole life, where I'm just like, it's just not worth it anymore. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm sure the two are combined, but either way, it kind of sucks because they're kind of looking at me like, what's the matter with you? Why aren't you drinking? I'm like, because I don't want to drink. And there's
Yeah.
just almost like this expectation now in this community where, oh yeah, Mooney doesn't drink. Yeah. Let's when we get back from dinner, let's all meet back down at the bar because Mooney's not going to come down and drink with us. That's okay.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
It's funny how there's so much wrong with it. I mean, it's just not good for you. That's all there is
Oh,
to it. It's poison, but there's so much pressure around drinking.
there is.
Yes. Okay, so I want you to do this section again. and sell watching this.
Okay. Let me shrink this down a little bit so I can see. Let me get I'm on my Mac, so my screen is not as big. Okay.
That's
So
probably a good thing.
yeah, well, I want
So that
to,
you're not reading every, like, you know what's on there.
yeah, I know it's on there. And you're right. Yeah, I should, okay, there we go. So we're going to go back
Because
to slide
this,
number.
you talking about this continuing education, this is like a story
Right. Okay.
because you
Right.
went someplace or it was online. And
Okay. All right. So we'll start back with slide 12 where it's the top of is the date. Okay. So back in August, I had a great opportunity to attend the Business
okay,
Aviation
back,
Safety Council.
back in August,
I'm going too fast.
you, no. What you do, you're using the word so, which is another filler word, but it also disempowers you.
Okay.
So instead, just drop me in the story back in August.
August 12th, folks, we had the Business Aviation Safety Council put on a great presentation from what they call FADAP, or the Flight Attendant Drug and Alcohol Program, headed up by Heather Healy. The speaker in this event was a woman named Deb McCormick, who is a longtime flight attendant for American Airlines for many years. She gave an amazing presentation on her struggle with alcohol, but more importantly, how she sought help and how she came out the other side of it. So I want you guys to really take the time. This was only about a half an hour, her portion of it. And I'm going to put the link in the next couple slides. I want you to take the time and just watch her presentation of what she said, because I came into it with kind of an eye roll. I'm a pilot. I'm not a flight attendant. Doesn't really apply to me. I don't have a drug or alcohol problem, but that doesn't mean that we can't help others or that I don't have friends that may have these problems. And more importantly, maybe feel like they don't have resources. So the Fed app is a fantastic resource. They gave an amazing presentation. Here's the numbers right here for you if you so decide to reach out to them. But the key takeaways, again, this is a great resource. Todd was on the call with me. I really, I can't say it enough that her presentation was powerful. And even when she started out, I was kind of rolling my eyes. Well, where are we going with this? But I'll tell you, she roped you right in. And hearing her story, I've seen it a million times throughout the 30 years of my career where people struggle with everything. It maybe mental illness, it may be alcohol or drugs, and it may be outside of aviation. But to have an organization that reaches out like this and says, "We are here to help you," I really think was awesome. And I'd love it if you guys took a moment, just 30 minutes, watch her presentation. The link's on the next slide here below.
How would you, two things. How would you feel about asking people, because you really want everybody to watch this, right?
Sure.
Like almost as a homework assignment.
Yeah, it's part of an assignment. Again, more, I guess, really, do I want them to? Yeah, of course. And I think there's probably a few people that might benefit from this,
Hmm.
but but um, more importantly, I'm a conveyor of information. So I attended this as part of my duties as a safety manager. This was great. It reached out to me in a big way. And I think more than anything, regardless of where you are in life or what your problems may or may not be, or who you may want to help, it's a good thing to watch. And she was really raw in her presentation and real and had a huge impact on me.
So here's just an idea. You could ask people like after you watch it, feel free to like, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just drop me a text, an email, however you communicate with people. And it's
Amazing.
not saying you have to go watch it, but it'll be interesting to see who does share with you. Like I would just love to hear your takeaways.
That is fantastic.
And as you were presenting this in the beginning of this, you were
Yes.
very matter of fact. And then as you went on, you're just like, you got more passionate about it. Your pauses got a little bit more intentional, a little bit longer. Your changing your voice,
I
how
was
you would describe.
actively,
Yeah,
I was
you were like
actively working on that.
it got better as you went on.
I was actively working on that. So thank you. That's a
Yeah,
huge, yeah, that's
yeah.
great.
So let's do it again.
Okay.
Just take a deep breath, even if you have to stand up and just shake it out or anything. Just whatever you got to do.
Okay. Back on August 12th, Todd and I actually had the privilege of attending the Business Aviation Safety Council educational safety roundtable. Group, as you can see here, FADAP, Flight Attendant Drug and Alcohol Program, were uh, the primary sponsors. I'm sorry, the primary presenters at the safety roundtable, headed up by a woman named Heather Healy, who is the main point of contact for this organization. She had a woman named Deb McCormick speak to the group about her lifelong struggle with drug and alcohol from the perspective of a commercial flight attendant. And her presentation was absolutely phenomenal. I kind of went into it with an eye roll because one, I'm not a flight attendant, and two, it doesn't really apply to me. But when I heard what she has been through and what, more importantly, the resource that she was able to reach out to this group and get help from, it really affected me. And I really think that everyone here would benefit from watching her talk. It's only a half an hour. Do me a favor. Um, take a half an hour out of your day and click on the link I'm going to share with you here a couple slides later and just watch her presentation. It was phenomenal. And she was raw, she was open with everything she went through. And ultimately, at the end of the day, to have this resource right here in front of us is fantastic. And this is obviously something that Todd and I would wholeheartedly endorse and encourage anyone to take advantage of as we go forward. So there's their numbers there. The big takeaways, again, for me, I need to kind of see, sorry. Big takeaways for me, you know, again, business aviation has very high standards of performance. We do a lot of work to make sure that our principals are taken care of with safety and service. The flight attendants in business in business aviation face unique stressors and expectations, and sometimes these things are nebulous. Sometimes they're also kind of insidious and creep up on us, and we don't know where to turn for help. Well, here's a great resource, and I would love it for you guys just to take a few minutes out of your day and watch this presentation. I'd also love to hear your feedback if you watch it. Send me a text, shoot me an
Not
email.
if, when.
I'd love to hear. What's
Yeah.
that?
I said not if, when.
When? Yeah, when?
Yeah.
When you watch it,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your feedback. So that was here's a link right here with the code you need to type in. Again, highly recommended. Very, very, very well done on her behalf. And it took a lot of courage, to be honest with you. So
Good job.
how was that?
Good job. You're getting better. You're getting better. I think the only part that you had said earlier that I think is really important when you share this is because you missed it this iteration is that whether we have a problem, like we can become the resource for somebody else who we see is has a problem and might be trying to reach out.
Right. Very good. Well, they look like they're a really good organization. Now there's actually, the other part of this, again, not to get too esoteric, but the commercial aviation is a lot different from the kind of aviation that we're involved with in terms of regulation, right? So
Yeah.
there are sanctioned services um, under that one part of the FAA that the commercial flight crews have. They're more protected. They have unions. They have all of these other systems that us out here in the private world don't have. So it's important for us as an organization to say, hey, guys, we are doing this for you. If you need to reach out, don't worry about the cost. Don't worry about anything. Do it. We'll back you up.
Yeah.
So again, it's nice to put that out there in the crew force, and nice to know that maybe there is some help that people can get, um, outside of just going to their primaries or whatever.
And this could be a good area when you're talking about this to bring in some sort of a statistic, because you just mentioned that it is such a problem in aviation. Like if there is an actual statistic that they have found like I don't know, like 1 in 8 people that's in aviation, pilots, flight attendants,
Yeah, I think if
act,
yeah,
actually have
I'd have to do
low.
some digging. That would be interesting. I wonder what kind of data they would have on that that the public
Yeah.
would want to see, or that the public would want to know about. I'm not saying it's endemic, but I think that there's a lot of, and I'm not also not saying that people that do have a problem don't follow the rules and stop drinking it, before their flights.
Yeah.
But clearly, not everyone does. So,
Yeah, and that actually brings up another good point. Like, you don't actually have to pick on aviation. You could just say, according to the Drug and Alcohol Association, I'm just making shit up,
oh yeah,
1 in 5 adults has a problem with drug or alcohol. So like this is a big problem. That's all there is to it.
yeah, because that's very important. You know, Delta Airlines has 13 or 14,000 pilots. So if you take a cross section of that 14,000 pilots, the same data that you just mentioned would apply to that group, right?
Yeah.
1 in 5 people are crazy. Well, there's probably 1 in 5 people that are crazy out there flying airplanes right now, right? So, and they've actually done, interestingly enough, they've actually done some crackdowns on that within the last 2 years, specifically on the former military side. They were able to gain access to VA records. The FAA was, and there are some people that have been diagnosed with all kinds of psychological issues, to include PTSD, that are out there flying, and some of them, not very many, but one or two, I think, were criminally charged.
Wow.
The data was presented. So yeah, so that's interesting. I think a baseline alcohol statistic would probably really play well here.
So this is Google's AI
Hmm.
says, and so I would want to like dive deeper into, oh, here's like the American Addiction Center is saying in 2003, I just had the number. So there's 48.5 million Americans aged 12 or older that battle with a substance or disorder in the past year. That's 10.2% of Americans. 10%. So if you've got 20 people on the phone on this phone call, that means two.
That's right.
Sometimes like really like even like honing it way down micro.
I think I'm
And
going to
it's
start my. I think the first slide before I talk about this is going to be that.
yeah,
That'll be powerful,
it lands at home.
right?
I had a client who she came from an abused marriage and spoke about this. And it's like 1 in 3 women. So her speech was like, look to your right, look to your left, and look at the person in front of you. One
Maybe.
of them
Maybe.
is living in that sort of it. Like it just like, oh my God. Like if it's not me, it's
Yeah.
yeah,
That might be a really good throw a statistic up there on a blank slide prior to talking about the actual presentation would be really,
yeah.
because then it's like, okay, we're not picking on aviation, we're not picking on corporate aviation. We're just looking at the big statistics across the board and presenting you a resource where you can get help.
27 million Americans, 12 and over, reported
27 million?
27 million Americans 12 or older, 9.7%, reported battling a drug use disorder in the past year. The same 7.5, 2.7% of Americans 12 and older struggle with both alcohol and drug disorders simultaneously. and 20 million Americans, adults, 7.9% suffered from both mental health and a substance abuse. I'm going to copy this and put this in our little document
Please.
that
That'd be
I'm
amazing.
making.
And this is
Yeah,
tough.
it's even got a nice little graphic, actually.
Phenomenal. Thank you.
I'll
Yeah,
just,
because
I'll just put the
it's a
page
really,
in there.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
really taboo because a lot of people will never in a million years ever fess up to anything like this because it'll mean in our part of the world, our little slice of aviation, that you're going to lose your job.
Right.
If you say I'm having mental health problems, you're going to lose your job. No, that's not at all what we're trying to say. We're trying to say everybody struggles in life, and here's a resource for you.
Yes. And I like the way you just said that. And that's what the whole point of this
Yeah,
of her talk was. It's not about her drinking problem.
yeah,
It was about get help
yeah,
because nobody lives on an island.
yeah, yeah. And if you have
Like we are you
yeah,
are you're the safety advisor, but like you guys are all like you're a team.
right.
We're here to support each other.
We are here to support each other. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
our director is funny because I had a lengthy text conversation with our director after this presentation, who's my boss, who's my direct report boss. He, 2 years, 2 years ago now, his son, his son Hunter, who is a 14-year-old kid, had a monstrous cancerous brain tumor like 3 weeks before Christmas.
Oh God.
So look, he he really opened up to me about how he sought mental help,
Yeah.
mental health help during and after. So I mean, look, we're all human, man. But there's this weird like perception out there, and part of it is because of the FAA and how they are so strict and stringent in anything having to do with mental health or alcohol or drug abuse. And that fortunately for everyone, like SSRIs are now accepted in the aviation community, but you have to like say I'm taking them. I think there's like a 3 week grace period where you're not allowed to fly until they reevaluate you, but you're allowed to take your. So they're shifting now to something that used to be disqualifying, even as short a time ago as 5 years ago, would be disqualifying. You'd end your career if you came forth and said you were taking SSRIs.
Wow.
Now they're not. It's okay. We all struggle. We
Yeah.
just have to make sure that you're safe on them, and then you can go back into the flying public. Imagine that. Common sense, right? Clearly, we can't be having pilots out there taking drugs. That's just not going to happen. And I understand that that was the FAA's stance. But because of that, what you have is a bunch of pilots out there taking drugs and not reporting it.
Right.
So,
Right.
so choose your poison,
Or
right?
getting them illegally.
We're getting them
Yeah.
doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Um, and so the tides are starting to turn, but it takes a long time. It's a cruise ship that has to turn, make a sharp turn, which you can't do. And this is one example of that. With specifically regarding alcohol abuse. But yeah, it's tough. It's a really tough industry in that regard because in a blink of an eye, you can lose your livelihood and never have it again, and have to go get a whole new skill. I mean,
Yeah.
I, I don't know what I would do if I lost my job.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
people don't talk about it. It's taboo.
Right.
We don't talk about alcoholism.
Nice.
So I have to tread lightly and carefully on this one, but I like where we're going with it.
Yeah, we're just we'll start with a stat. This is how many people are affected. And so that is kind of a nice way to like move into this particular, it'll encourage people to watch it. This is about getting help. This is
Yeah,
about seeing, also just noticing if one of our team members or some other, like a friend of yours or a family member of yours needs help. There are things that we can do to help other people,
right.
to guide them. So I like that. We're meeting, what is it, next Thursday?
Next Thursday, but I might move it on you because
Okay.
with all the craziness, I think that this presentation might. I've already asked them to reschedule it because I got put on another trip. So I'm thinking
Okay.
we will probably get together mid-October.
Okay. When is your presentation?
I'm moving it to mid-October. So I think what
Okay.
I'd like to do is I'm going to go home. I think I'm going to have about 5 days at home. During those 5 days, I don't want to open my laptop. I just want to be home with my wife and my daughter and my dog, and I just want to relax. I don't
Mm.
want to do any work. So I
Good.
think what I'll do is probably move that to October to maybe a 15, 16, 17 October. And that'll be right around the time I'm going to give the presentation. So I'll have a chance to maybe revise some of these slides and maybe go through it with you one more time, if that's okay. Or
Yeah.
if you have another idea.
Well, if you can book your appointment like 4 days beforehand,
Okay.
because if you book it a day or 2 days beforehand, I'm not going to make any change. I'm not going to make a lot of changes
Okay.
because you're like, I don't want the stress of like, oh my God, I'm giving this in 48 hours and she just made me do
Yes.
what?
No,
So
no, no.
a little
Yeah.
bit more time, but I want you to like, just kind of like, I want you to come up with a system for the future where it's like, okay, here's all the information that I want to share with people. What do I actually need? So I want you to have like some sort of a system that, all right, that we dedicate like a week before, 2 weeks before, like I'm actually giving a presentation. So I want you just to spend some time and just like really go through each slide. What's important? Like, what do I really want them to get from this slide? And
Okay.
I want you to do that for all the slides.
Okay. Yeah. My current system is as information comes in, I I screenshot, copy, and paste into the PowerPoint of my next presentation. And then a week or two prior, maybe sometimes 3 weeks prior, I start to pare it all down and tighten it up and make it pretty.
Yeah.
At least the information, at least everything's on there on the
Yeah.
PowerPoint. And it's a memory jog for me to go, yeah, that's right. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. So that's kind of my how I do it right now because stuff comes fast and furious. In any given quarter, I'll have 10 different meetings or Zooms or conferences that I'll go to, or five, depending
Hmm.
on the time of year. And I would like to funnel all that monstrous amount of information into literally 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So, you know, that's a
And
challenge.
sometimes that's just about picking the best and the most important pieces.
Right. And things like having the link available or having a couple of pictures of what's going on can be
Hmm.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Picture is worth 1,000 words, as they
Yes.
say.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
So
Lori.
feel free, like, yeah, you can go in there, you can reschedule that, or if you just want to cancel it and then go back and reschedule, like when you know what your schedule is a little bit closer to the date, that works also.
Because that'll be the second I don't even get back from London until the afternoon of the first. So I know it's going to be crazy. I think I'm going to probably take it off for now and then move it a
Mhm.
couple weeks to the right.
All right, I'll just go in and cancel it for you right now. That's one less thing that you have to do. It's easy for me to do. But remember, like, I'm here for you in Voxer. If there's anything that you want to just like practice, you want to let me just like practice these couple of slides, feel free. I'm here
Thank you.
for you, whatever that is. Okay.
Amazing. Amazing. Thanks, LA.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
See you soon. Okay.
Bye.